What's up, everybody? Big Herc 916, getting down with Fresh Out, and you're tuned into another edition of our Young Hustler series. You guys have been asking about different types of hustles, how to become your own boss. Well, I got a boss of bosses right here, BC, the real estate god. He's gonna lace us up with some real game on the real estate hustle and kind of fill in some gaps on some of the questions you guys ask us on our Instagram and our emails. So, Bryan, man, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about where you're from, how you grew up, and some background information.
Cool, yeah, thanks for having me, Herc. Bryan Casella is my official name, my government name, right? BC is what everybody has kind of coined me now. I grew up in Huntington Park, right? My parents both immigrated here from South America. They met here in America. I was born from about age 1 to about 9 or 10. We stayed in Huntington Park, and then we moved out this way to La Puente. I pretty much grew up out here. Typical childhood, we didn't make too much money, but we weren't struggling either. So it's kind of like in that middle space where I didn't have the newest toys, but I also had one toy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I found basketball at age 11, and I really just put my head in that. I didn't really fuck around on the streets or anything like that. I was I kept my head in the books and, on the court. So we fast forward a little bit, and I ended up getting shipped off to military school. From age 14 to 18, and that was a whole other story that we can talk about on a different one, because I don't want to share a lot about that.
Yeah, okay.
It wasn't too fun. Then I got a scholarship to play in college, right? I played at USF in San Francisco for 4 years, and I played basketball overseas for a few years. You fast forward to my third year, for the second time, I actually injured my ankle, had a second surgery, and after that, I came back to the States. I was like 24, 25, and lost for about a year. Really didn't know what to do. Mildly depressed because I had dedicated age 10 to 25 in basketball. So I was like, man, what am I going to do now? After about a year of feeling sorry for myself, I said, all right, I can't do this anymore. I have to kind of figure it out, get my head together, and come up with a plan. So after that, I just started kind of looking around, and I drove by a real estate company in Downey, right off Florence and Paramount, and that's where I started my real estate career. But when I drove by, they had a sign, and you see these all the time, make $100,000 your first year.
Yeah, I've always seen that.
Yeah. And I wasn't naive in the sense that, okay, anybody can do it, but I knew there was probably a dude in there that did it, and I need to find him and talk to him. So I just went in the building. Long story short, the broker ends up being my first basketball coach ever.
Wow.
Yeah. So like
wow,
MJD,
that's crazy.
So it was funny seeing him, and at this time now he's like this little table in front of us. He's like at my waist, because I grew so much. He hadn't seen me in like 20 years, but long story short, we talked for a couple hours. I sign up on the spot, and I do it, right? And then I started doing real estate a couple months after that.
And what were some of the challenges you faced getting into real estate? Because, you got a lot of people who get the real estate license and think, oh, I'm a real estate agent, I'm going to get rich. Is it that simple, or is there more to it?
I tell people, and I learned this from a lot of the coaches, it's simple, but it's not easy. When I started, I studied Mike Ferry, who's like, they consider him the godfather of real estate. And he was always a proponent of working hard, roll your sleeves up, make cold calls, go knock on doors, talk to people, actively market. Whereas now everybody wants to promote on social media or wait for business to come to them, which is what we see on TV. You show up in a slick suit, you get a call, hey, come sell my $5 million house. That's not the way it works. Yeah. So all I did was, for 3 years before I started my team, every day, all I did was knock on doors and make phone calls. I remember going to my friend's wedding one summer after I started, and you see in the pictures, I'm black, bro. From door knocking so much, like from here up, I'm dark.
Being in the sun.
Yeah, and my hands right here, my wrist too. And that's the type of dedication that I put into it. Now, the struggles really was, your own mind and the people around you, right? Coming from where I came from, my family in South America is still factory workers. Nobody has money. No one's had success, we can say. Nobody understands money. So I was brought up with, be happy with a little bit, just get a 9-to-5, get the safe, secure job, and be happy with that. People who make money are evil. People who make money are bad.
Yeah,
well, that's not the case. Yeah. So I was brought up with that mentality, but even as a kid, I always kind of challenged it. I said, that doesn't sound right. I haven't met the dude with $1 million. Why is he suddenly a bad person just because he has money? If anything, the Lamborghini he has, I want it. Like, I'm drawn to it. I drive by a elementary school here, and the kids are like, whoa! And they're like 5. They don't know what a Lamborghini is, but they react to it. Yeah. That's the type of reaction that I had to it. So I always kind of challenged it. Now, the pressure in the beginning is everybody wants to kind of get their parents' and peers' approval, which is the worst thing you can do. Okay. Because everybody wants to keep you in their circle. every friend that I told, hey, I want to do something better for myself. I want to get into real estate. I want to become a millionaire. Was like, man, sit down. You ain't going to do nothing.
Yeah.
And it was almost like this antagonistic relationship now. And I said, dude, you're supposed to be my friend. You're supposed to support me. You ain't my friend. So I slowly started getting away from those people. And I just, again, stuck my head in the business and said, I need to focus up. But one of the biggest challenges is dealing with your own upbringing and those backwards philosophies that we were taught, and then the people around you who are going to talk down to you, because you're going to get negativity and opposition from all angles, and you need to stay the course and say, I signed up for this, I'm going to do it.
Now, I watch a lot of real estate shows, Grant Cardone, I watch, Beverly Hills Listing, and you see Josh, he rolls up, he gets a listing for his $15 million house. And I know, man, dude, you're not going to just get that listing. That's connections. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, people, I know they have this question, how realistic are those shows, New York, where the guy's selling, these penthouses, he just sold 10 of them and they're 50 million. Right. I mean, how realistic is that?
Well, I've actually had the cool fortune of being able to speak with a lot of those guys now, because we do a lot of tours and they get the guys from the show and then the social media guys, and I'm one of them apparently now, even though I didn't know. So I've spoken with them at different places, and I've had actually one-on-one chats with them. And they said when the shows were being filmed, they were still doing their bread and butter of, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 homes.
Okay.
It was really the show that put them up on that platform where people started calling them.
Oh.
Now, what they mentioned was, yeah, we were getting the $2, $3, $4, $5 million listings, but that was 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 20. And to get there, yeah, you had to work your way up, right? We had to make a lot of contacts in the beginning. Like some people that I'm doing business with now are the people that I contacted at the door or on the phone 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Okay. So I built up my Rolodex of people that are contacts that maybe weren't ready then, but either referred me to somebody that they knew because I had built that trust and relationship with them, or they said, you know what, Bryan, I'll be ready in 3 years. Keep in touch.
Okay.
And everybody thinks you're going to show up with your suit and you're going to knock on a door and they're like, hey, Bryan, I want to sell. That's not the way it is. It takes time. Now, I did good my first year, but that's because I was talking to 50, 60, 70 new people every day, people I didn't know. A lot of people aren't willing to do that. We're sitting there at our meetings every Monday in my new office, reporting our numbers for the week. Everyone's saying, oh, I talked to 5 people last week, 10, 20. I'm like, 250, 300.
Yeah.
That's the type of effort that I put in on a weekly basis.
Okay.
So I built up that snowball quicker than other people. So within 6 months or a year of starting, I started seeing some results and getting some momentum. But you have to build that momentum. It's like rolling a snowball down the hill. When it gets to the bottom, it's huge.
And, I have a friend who does real estate. He told me kind of similar to what you're saying, that a lot of the people he's now starting to list their homes, he knew them from 5 years ago, 6 years ago, kept in touch with him, and he's built up his Rolodex. And, for somebody who doesn't know, typically, you see a show and you think, oh, man, this guy got a listing for, let's say Hollywood Hills, 5.2 million, and it's sold. But a lot of those houses don't realize they've been on the market a while. It's not like overnight, because it takes a certain client. I mean, typically, like if somebody is expecting to sell a house at that level, how long does it usually take, as opposed to a house that's maybe $500,000-$600,000?
Well, the bread and butter is going to sell in 30 days or less. I mean, this week alone, we put 3 listings under contract that were all between $500,000 and $800,000.
Okay.
Now, the high-ticket homes, usually, I would say after about 2.5 million is when you start seeing days on market increase.
Okay.
So for the people watching, days on market is how long a listing has been on the market.
Okay.
Now, for the luxury, ultra luxury, it could be up to a year, and their average is anywhere from 10 to about 14 months, depending on the location too. I'm speaking mainly LA and OC.
Okay.
Could be up to a year. Now, when there's no inventory, like we saw a couple years ago, they were selling within 30, 60, 90 days.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But now, whenever there's a slowdown, people don't understand the luxury market gets hit first. This is how I kind of predicted that the market was going to slow down a little bit, which it has over the last year. A lot of people still don't know. But the luxury market about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, already started seeing increases in inventory and it's slowing down. So me, being a little wise, I said, you know what? The rest of the market's going to feel this in a little bit, so we need to start adjusting. And when it comes to that type of money, only a few select people on the planet have 10, 15, 20 million to just throw at a house. We think it's a lot of people because of the internet. Like we were talking, everybody has a Lambo.
Yeah.
But it could take up to a year. So you might get that $100,000, $200,000 commission check, but it's over a span of 12 months, which when you break it down monthly, it's not really that much money.
Yeah. So you got your bread and butter, which is, like you said, they're anywhere from $500,000 to $800,000, $500,000 to $700,000. But then, like you said, the bigger homes, those are listings you're showing, but it ain't like, dude, you're every day somebody banging on the door to buy that house. Yeah.
Now I've gotten lucky. Like I had one of our clients, Jacob, shout out to him. He contacted me through YouTube. And we ended up getting him under contract in Laguna Beach for $4.8 million, and quickly. But we just happened to stumble across a property that a developer was making. I talked to him. He He was ready to go. We submitted the offer. But that guy had been working on that building for, I think, 8 months, and he's still not done, right? He's still not done. So I'm not getting paid until probably the end of this year. And I met Jacob over a year ago, right? Now I'm going to probably make 3% on that, which is almost like 140, 150 grand. But in the end, it took a year and a half. So I can't sit there and say, oh, I don't need any other deals. I'm getting this one deal. You know?
So you got to look long term when you're doing real estate.
Exactly, yeah. And you have to be smart, because when you get a commission check, they don't tax that. You have to separate it later for taxes. So when you get that 20 grand check,
put
and
that money aside.
Like I was at the time, 27, 28, and I had made money playing ball, right? But I wasn't getting $20, $30, $40,000 checks every couple of weeks. So I had one point in a month, I made, I think it was like 40 grand. I got a $20,000 check, $12,000 check, $8,000 check. I didn't know what to do. I was shaking. I was like, do I buy a car? Like, I had to step back real quick and start really educating myself about money and some of these other things we were talking about, because you could get in a hole real quick. Uncle Sam will come and get you.
That's right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I even have a great CPA now. I'm still a little bit behind paying my taxes, right? I'm making payments every month, but that's from the mistakes I made early on in my career. So you got to be really careful.
And what's the major difference between a real estate agent and real estate broker? Because I have people say, oh, I'm an agent, but I have a broker I work under, or this person's a broker. So that, people try to use their broker license to kind of sell under. What is the difference?
Easy distinction. Basically, a broker is the license that allows you to open up your own company or franchise. So like we see Keller Williams, Century 21, companies like that. As a broker, with my license, I could open up my own franchise or my own company, BC Realty, if I want. Okay. Now, an agent cannot open their own company. They have to be technically under a broker.
Okay.
You're still not a W-2 employee. You're still 1099, but you technically hang your license under the broker. So if you're the broker and I'm the agent and you have a Century 21, I, as an agent, would have to come to somebody like you and say, hey, can I hang my license with you?
Okay, I got you.
Now, with broker license, you running your own company and having people under you comes the liability as well. Because if I make a mistake as an agent and they want to sue, they come after you, not me.
Oh, okay. So the broker holds a lot of weight.
Exactly. Yeah.
And as far as advice for anybody getting into the real estate game and, trying to make a living, what kind of advice would you give them? Because, a lot of people, like I said, they see social media, they watch these shows, and it seems fascinating. They make it all glorious, hot chicks.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, what could you tell them as far as advice?
You have to have a long-term perspective when you start, right? You have to understand you're going to have to build people skills. You're going to have to learn sales. You're going to have to really roll your sleeves up and get into the nitty-gritty, which is why when I started my YouTube channel and my social media, I focused on that. I wasn't telling people it was pretty. I said, this is ugly. You're going to cry. You're going to be knocked down. You're going to be spitting blood. You're going to be spitting out your teeth, but it's worth it in the end if you stick it out. So I tell people, be ready to work a lot and not be paid in the beginning. Be ready to get maximum effort for minimal gain. It's almost like if you're stretching and you want to do the splits. Every day you get a little bit more, but it's agonizing. You're not just suddenly going to do the splits. So you have to really be ready to treat it like a business, which means you show up every day at the same time, even though someone's not looking over your shoulder like a boss, because you don't have that in real estate.
Okay.
So you got to show up every day, and you have to be extremely, extremely, extremely consistent, right? So if you're making calls, you got to do it every day. If you're going door to door like I was and making calls, you got to do it every day. Because I see people do it for a couple days, they don't get a deal or anybody interested, they're like, it doesn't work. It took me, I'm gonna tell you, 4 or 5 months of doing it every day for at least 3 hours a day to finally get somebody to sign a contract from somebody that I had knocked on their door.
Wow, to actually list their house.
Exactly. Now, I had gotten some quicker ones cold calling, right? But the door knocking one, and even most of the cold calls took those months and months and months and months. So you got to come in with the mindset of, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be like the shows. I'm going to have to really put in some work and be tested mentally, physically, emotionally for a while before I even get a little bone or a scrap, which is like $5,000 or $10,000.
So it's really a numbers game. It's almost like, I know I worked in like a securities office where we sold natural gas partnerships. You got to call all day. You're calling the people. Yeah. You might get somebody that's interested, and you're like, hold on, and you try to get a closer to bring him in. So it's the same thing, right? You're doing a lot of numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. You are. Even if you're good, I consider myself very good at sales now. I still get told to F off and no and this and that all the time. But I understand the law of averages is going to be in my favor. And the more numbers that I hit with the strategic approach and having some skills and some consistency, it's going to work out. And that's why, like I told you, the example of our meetings when I was reporting 250 or 300 conversations a week, everyone else is reporting 10 or 20. Of course I'm going to succeed. And after that year, they're like, Bryan, what are you doing? I'm like, dude, what you did in a month, right? I do that in a day, right? So of course I'm going to be ahead of you. But then again, it's not pretty. I didn't have a camera with me when I was doing that, right? If people watched it, when I started telling people what I was doing and what was happening, anybody who was interested in real estate was running the other way because they found out what I was doing. I was like, dude, you got to be, I'm not going to paint a false picture for you. I'm going to be honest with you. And that's why I got a lot of heat in the beginning, because I was just this person who seemed to be the only one who was really being real about it. I said, it's not easy. I was in tears 3 times my first year, bro. 3 times I broke down because I didn't think I could do it. But I was like, you know what? I made the commitment and I'm going to do it. So, I mean, there's a lot of variables too, depending on your market. LA, great prices. 1 commission check can change your life. Maybe somebody watching is in Oklahoma where the average price point's $100,000. But what they need to realize is those homes turn over a lot more because they're cheaper. More people can afford them. So you need to do more volume, right? And then if you're in a smaller city too, these techniques that I'm telling you about, a lot of people don't do it in the small towns. I know people who started following me, got in my coaching or whatever, and within a year, they're killing it. They're selling 20, 30, 40, 50 homes with basic techniques and some consistency.
And it sounds like your drive, man, the way you look at things, your mentality is so different. So it kind of separates you from everybody else. You know, where do you get that drive from? Because I know people are like, you know, I got friends like I don't really talk to anymore, because, like you said, they're intimidated and they're like, well, man, you're trying to do too much, but to me, I'm not doing enough. So, exactly. You know, where do you get your drive from, your inspiration?
I would say 2 things. One is definitely being an athlete all my life, you know, like, because I loved athletics because you got out what you put in. Unless you were a raw talent or genetic freak, like, you know, Michael Jordan, who still worked hard. If you put in a lot of work, you know, I made it to the level that I made it at basketball because of just my sheer determination and hard work. Okay. Yeah, you know, I was really good athletically too, not crazy, but, you know, when people were out partying, I was in the gym. When people went on vacation, I was in the gym. So I studied my craft and I honed it. And it was just that competitiveness in me to be number one. I said, I want to be, you know, the MVP of the conference. I want to be the all defensive player of the conference. I want to be all state and all conference in high school. Like, I just wanted to be number one. And what it was, I don't know, right? It was just something that was bred into me when I started looking at other people. And I was like, you know what? I'm in this field with 20 other people, my teammates are 15. I just want to beat them. Not to make them feel bad, just to be number one, to be recognized as number one. Not to gloat, but just to say I did it with my hard work. Not because of where I was born, not because, you know, my dad is the coach, but because I earned it, right? And another thing is, I've always been a big reader, right? Especially the last 5 or 6 years, and reading so many stories of like the old wars, you know, like the old Greek wars and the Spartans and that kind of stuff, and reading about their culture. I was like, man, these people were hardcore, but it gave them a result. You know, their whole intention was to breed warriors and have that mentality. And I really tapped into that. Like when I watch movies like 300, I get goosebumps. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I could see myself in a previous life being like that. Or, you know, if me and my brothers had to go up, me and my friends had to go up to war, I'd be the first one to step up and say, hey, let's go. I don't care if I'm fighting the giant, let's do it. I'm not going to run away and hide, you know? So I just, for whatever reason, whether people want to believe that stuff or not, I tapped into that. And I really understand that. So when I read these stories, I connect with it. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that's the way we're supposed to be if we want to achieve, you know, the millionaire status or recognition or some sort of, you know, achievement that we want to go after or some sort of purpose, because it takes that kind of mentality to get there. We can't have the 9-to-5 average mentality and then do what we do. It just, it doesn't connect. It's not congruent.
You know, it's funny you say that, because I watch those same movies, and when they say how the people coming through town and they're throwing fireballs and everybody's in their house burning up, I'm gonna come outside with a sword. I'm gonna start chopping some shit up. You know, I'm not gonna let you come through here, rape my wife, kill my kids. You know, I'm gonna go out. You know, if I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna go out with a fight. So I had that same mentality where I'm a gladiator. You know, if it's me or them, it's gonna be them. You know what I mean? So I had that same drive. What's your vision for BC Realty in the next, 5 years, man? Where do you see yourself going? What are some of the things we can, look forward to?
Yeah, man. My real estate team is expanding a lot. You know, the areas that I used to cover in real estate were 5 or 6 cities when I started, and now we're pretty much doing most of Southern California, all the way from Santa Monica down to, South Orange County, which is like Laguna Beach, San Juan, Capistrano, and that area. So I really want to be more entrenched in those areas and grow my team, which we're doing. And also the online stuff has really been growing a lot too. I'm coaching, I'm traveling and speaking now. My brand as BC itself, we can say, has really been expanding. And just the amount of people coming to me, like asking for help or looking for guidance and sales and that kind of stuff, has just really blown up. So it really put my attention on it. And as far as that, I'm really looking to grow that immensely too, with more stuff on YouTube, I'm doing another event August 10th, which I'm going to invite you to, which is my second event for my coaching program.
Okay.
I have about 350 people in it right now. And that's something I'm going to do for them twice a year. So really pushing the whole speaking route. Like I told you, I've been in Australia. I'm going to Florida next month.
Well, that's cool.
I'm going to New York. I mean, I'm just doing a bunch of stuff now, and I really want to push the message, kind of like you're doing.
Okay.
Because I think people need to hear it, and I think we're good vehicles for it because we deliver it a certain way.
Yeah.
In the way that's the most effective, I think.
Well, you're definitely an inspiration because, you know, most of the time when people look for somebody as far as a mentor, they look towards like some rapper or some, you know, athlete guy. And not everybody can be Zion Williams or the Jay-Z, you know what I mean, or whatever. Or so to see somebody have things of value that is like, you know, somebody that you can relate to is so important because kids need that. You know, they need to be able to say, well, man, you know, I come from the same background and look what I achieved. You know, it motivates them to say like, hey, I'm not limited, which is, you know, which is great because the youth they don't have enough of that, man.
Yeah, and then a lot of stuff you do, whether it's you yourself or the people you interview, a lot of it is from experience. So we're kicking game from experience, not something we read or theory, it's experience. So when I tell somebody, do this, do this, do this, it's because I've done it 10 billion times.
That's right.
Right? And I think that's one of the biggest differences now is I think we're cut from a different cloth when we give people that kind of guidance and information. And I think that's what we need to see more.
That's right. Yeah. And what are some of your social media stuff? We're gonna have it in the description too, but you know, give the people out there some of the ways they can find out about what you're doing.
Sure, yeah. Bryan Casella. You can find me on YouTube. I also have @Bryan Casella for my Twitter, my Instagram, my Facebook. You know, if you just type in my name in Google now, everything should pop up. I made it all the same, just my name.
Okay. Hey, you guys, there you have it. Young hustler. We got BC Realty right here, a true hustler in the game, real estate. Making big moves. Make sure you guys subscribe. Check out his stuff. Subscribe to his stuff also. And this is another interview. Big Herc 916, Young Hustlers. Lockdown's over. Get your yard time in. Exclusively at FreshOutSeries.com.